Hey all, welcome to part 3 of the series on building the simple calculator. So far in parts 1 and 2 we have built a basic calculator. We have two functions, plus and minus. We also have a clear button and an equal to. So if you do 1 plus 2 gives 3, you can also add multiple numbers, and as you can see this is working fine. Now, as part of the assignment, you also expected to create another class called C Advanced Math, derive it from the C Base Math, and have some extra functions. So what we are going to do, so far we have been instantiating the C Base Math class, which is what we are using here. So we are creating an instance, and depending what the operator is, we are calling the C Base Math class. Now we are going to create another class called C Advanced Math and inherit that class from C Base Math, and then we are going to instantiate only the C Advanced Math class. We won't need the C Base Math class because since you are inheriting the C Advanced Math from C Base Math, C Advanced Math will have access to every function that is defined inside C Base Math. So let's go ahead and create a new class called C Advanced Math. So we'll just simply create a class here. We can also select new item there. So this will be C add, correct my spelling there, C Advanced Math. And we'll create this as a public class, and the way we define inheritance, as we have covered before, is using C derived from C Base Math. Now inside the C Advanced Math we are going to define some functions that are not there in Base Math, but these two functions, sum and subtract, which are defined in C Base Math, will be available if you create an object of the C Advanced Math also. So in C Advanced Math, let us create a function that computes the factorial of any given number. And we have done this before, so calculating the factorial is pretty easy. We just define I loop variable, run a for next loop. We'll give this 0 I loop. Actually, we should start with 1 actually, or just start with n. That will make it a little easier to understand. As long as I loop greater than 0, we can also change its condition to greater than equal to 1, and since we are starting with a higher value, we need to reduce the value. So either we can use I loop minus minus, which is same as using I loop is equal to I loop minus 1. Let us also create a value called final value, which will be the actual factorial. And then we are simply going to say final value is equal to I loop times final value. Now what we need to do, make sure final value has a value of 1, because if we set it as a value of 0 and I loop starts. So factorial, as you may be familiar, if I say give factorial of 5, this is equal to 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which in this case will be equal to 20 times 3, which is 60. 60 times 2 is equal to 120. So just a sample of factorial 5. So here what we are doing is setting the final value to 1. Starting final value is equal to I loop. I loop will have a value of 5, assuming n is equal to 5, times 1. Then final value will be equal to 4 times 5, which is equal to 20. Then I loop will become 3, 20 times 3, which will become 60. And then when I loop is equal to 2, it will be 60 times 2 times 1, which will make it 120. And then we simply return the value of final value. Now in our form interface, we need to create another button, so I'll simply copy this plus button and just duplicate this, and we'll call this factorial. And if I go back up, let's call this button fact. So when we double click on this, we have to do similar things as we do when the minus button is pressed. Just we'll copy this and we'll simply paste this, except the selected operator. Now just let's call it fact, or just call it factorial, whichever one we wanted to do. So I'll just keep it a little short, called F or fact. And then the area where we are doing all the calculation, which is in the button equal to, we will say instead of creating the C advanced math, sorry, the base math, we'll convert this to advanced math. And then we have to add another else if condition to make sure that if the selected op is equal to fact, then we need to call the factorial function. Now I'll just copy the code here, and rather than calling math.subtract, so if you see now, factorial should be available there. Another thing you'll see here, if you do sum, if you do the dot, you'll see sum and subtract are also available because they are simply inherited, even though the object we are creating of the C advanced math. This is all because of inheritance. Now we are getting some error there, obviously, because we are only doing it on one value. So all these other functions take two values, but factorial only takes one value, which means, and this value is going to be value 2, because once we press the factorial at the equal to button, it will take the number that is entered there on the text box and it assigns it to value 2. So value 1 pretty much has no meaning for factorial. Alright, let's run this thing, save it, and we'll run it. So as you can see, we see a new button here. So first let's check if our previous functions are working okay, which is plus and minus. 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. 3 plus 2 should be equal to 5. Perfect. And now if you press factorial, it should compute the factorial of 5. So we did factorial is equal to so we have some issue going on. Factorial is not coming. Let's see, factorial 2 is also not coming. So what could be going on wrong? Let's go and take a look at a code here. Where is button factorial? Selected op is equal to fact. So let's simply put a breakpoint here. This is how we debug. So now let's just enter 2 and type factorial, and then say equal to. So it is not even coming on the equal to. Let's see what could be going on wrong. So what is happening is, if we press 2 and do factorial and then press equal to, text box.text is getting blanked, and we don't enter another number. So we have to treat factorial a little separately, and we remove this function, because you see what this function does. If you go into implementation, then you go ahead and see that it sets the text box 1 to blank, and we don't want that, and we are anyway not using value 1 because we are using value 2, so we don't need to call this when we are calling the factorial, because it only takes one value and we don't need to clean out that value. So now let's see, 2 factorial is equal to, it came here, let's go down. Perfect, value 2 should be 2. It creates an instance of the C base math class. We selected op is equal to factorial. Perfect, and we are in the actual factorial function. Now let's do one thing, let's jump it into directly. Now we are here inside the factorial. As we can see, I loop will have a value of 2 initially. So 2 factorial is essentially 2, it's 2 times 1, so it should return 2. Final value is 2, return, and text box text should say 2 now. Yeah, this thing has come up, which this green box, I don't know how I pressed something and it came up. Anyway, let me just continue with this. We press the start button again, and now let's see 1 plus 2 is equal to, let's actually remove the breakpoints because now we know it's all working. F5. Oh, so if I press F5 it actually assumes with that. So let's directly do it from the menu. Continue. So 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, plus 2 is equal to 5, and we do factorial 5 is equal to 120. So now the whole wiring, as I like to call it, is complete, and when you do 5 it gives you an answer of 120. Now let's clear this out. Let's do 2 factorial is equal to 2. Now let's do 1 factorial, which should be equal to 1. So let's do 1 plus 2, which is equal to 3. Factorial of 3 should be equal to 6. So that is equal to 6. So this way you have added a new button here, and you are using the C Advanced Math class and not creating an instance of C Base Math. But remember, C Base Math is still crucial because C Advanced Math derives from C Base Math. So you should define the function sum, subtract, divide and multiply in C Base Math, and go to the Advanced Math class and define any advanced functions that are required by your assignment. So this way you're also using inheritance. And now to complete the calculator program, all you have to do is add the extra digits here. So you need to add 3 to 0, and then add the division, multiplication operators, as well as define any advanced functions just like factorial that we need, and you should be good to go. And if there are any questions, again, please leave that in comments or bring that up in the discussion board. Thank you for watching.